Welcome to my library, dear guest. My name is Kooh, and I will be your storyteller. And, oh? What's this? That story is still missing? He still has it? I have to write up a letter later, but maybe this could be an opportunity? Yes, of course. He can read that story instead. That all aside, today's story is about a player who didn't want to leave the table, even at the cost of his own life. I hope you enjoy. That time I had to tell someone to leave and go to the hospital. By the author, The Lightning Count 1. This is recent-ish. So we have this campaign that has been going on for roughly 10 sessions now. However, this is not so much about that as it is about the player who did not want to leave the game. So the setting is actually Mech D20. Think Mech Warrior, but in the style of D&D. I have a player who doesn't look right. Pale, sweating, and confused. Head clearly not in the game, but he keeps swearing up and down he is just fine. Just ate something bad, it will pass kind of thing. He's going to the bathroom every 30 to 45 minutes. We are through our third combat encounter when he gets up suddenly, rushing to the restroom and clearly puking. I go back and check on him cleaning up, and he makes excuses saying he already feels better. About 15-ish minutes later, he heads back into the bathroom again. His wife, who is also playing, says he keeps having to pee every 30 to 45 minutes. Wow, those symptoms sound extremely familiar. He comes back out and sits down, looking the same as before, and I stop the game. I ask him if he has been peeing a lot lately. He says yeah. I ask him if he has been extremely thirsty lately. He says yeah. You know where this is going. I hand him my blood sugar tester and told him, let's skip the argument and prove me wrong, will you? He starts going off about how he doesn't have diabetes and that he just ate something wrong, and the reason he is thirsty is because of blah blah blah. I just smugly tell him to prove me wrong. So he does, and I hear a sound my blood sugar tester has never made for me before. It just says HI on my tester. If it says HI, it means it's over 500 blood sugar. For those who do not know, this is head to the hospital right now territory. Over 500 BGC for too long and you start going into organ failure. He wants to continue playing. No, I am not kidding you. He wants to continue playing. At first I go along with it and we finish out the combat when I kinda snap to my senses. I forcibly ended the game and made it very clear to his wife that he will die or be permanently changed if he doesn't go to the hospital right now. I convince his wife and he starts acting like a child, saying he will refuse to go inside and to just leave him alone. I remind him that we work at the same place and that his insurance is PPO like mine, so a hospital visit won't break the bank. His wife finally got in her head that I am being deadly serious and lays down the law on him. But she says she will call her family doctor and visit them whenever they are open. This starts an argument with me, her, and the other players, who all saw what I went through before finding out I was type 2. So she compromises and calls her doctor's 24/7 line. When she tells the 24/7 line that his BGC was over 500, the lady asks for her location and if she is close to a hospital. The seriousness of the situation sunk into both of them at this point, and they went to the hospital. All throughout, he was angry that we were not continuing the game. It wasn't until he kind of admitted to himself that, no, he was not fine, that he realized something was wrong. He got put on metformin, which means he spent roughly 2 months on the toilet until his body acclimated to the drug's side effects. I don't quite know what to say here. As much as I enjoy my D&D games, the thought of risking my life over it would never ever occur to me, as I am sure it is the same for the rest of you. Though I suppose in this situation that the afflicted party wasn't exactly in the right mindset, or simply wasn't aware. Either way, it's good to see that the author ended the game by himself, seeing as how the situation was quickly becoming critical. I hope that everyone will keep the seriousness of this in mind for the future. Well then, I suppose it's time to bring him here. I guess I can take some gold off his debt for this. I hope you all will enjoy this bonus reading session from a very special guest to you.
Yo! Thanks for having me on, Kooh. I'm Reading Raptor, and what the heck? Where am I? What is this place? Why is it so chill? Why is this thing so shiny? Can I eat it? What is this? Can I touch it? Oh, okay, I'm back home. Today's story is about a nightmare DM and an extremely shocking turn of events. Begin post. So, this nightmare of a story happened a while ago, during an online game of 5e. The DM seemed nice and the party got along well. After a session 0, we began the campaign as caravan guards. One of the caravan guards was a black dragonborn NPC named Rezmir. Rezmir was a couple of levels above the rest of the party, who were only level 1, but we didn't mind as level 1 PCs are very squishy, and it wasn't unreasonable that there were stronger adventurers than us in the world. Suddenly, the caravan gets attacked by orcs. The DM goes into great detail describing how Rezmir solos the orc chieftain and about 15 other orcs and randomly swears that he will defeat his father after he beheads the orc chieftain. Following the session, we're all talking about the sesh, and the DM asks us what we all thought of Rezmir. We'd only just met the character, so our answers were pretty lukewarm. But looking back, the DM had clearly put a lot of weight on the question. Little did we know what was to come in future sessions. As the game progresses, Rezmir starts showing up more and more often and becomes more and more obnoxious, constantly monologuing about some prophecy and his destiny to one day slay his father, who was another dragonborn who was being set up as the BBEG. The problem was that when the party didn't really show much interest in Rezmir or voice their concerns to the DM, he would only double down harder and make Rezmir show up more often, or be connected to quests in the most tedious way possible. What started as a fun little aside eventually started creeping up as a significantly noticeable annoyance for the entire party. Oh, the party is helping with rescuing a kidnapped villager from a goblin cave. Rezmir shows up and saves the party with a trail of dead goblins behind him. The party is investigating a trail of heists. Rezmir is there too, and it somehow is related to his whole crusade against his father. The party is waiting at the DMV to renew their driver's licenses? Yep, Rezmir is there next to us in line, as the receptionist was an ally of his father and had slighted him in some way. It got to the point where almost every encounter we had with an NPC that wasn't Rezmir would either keep talking about Rezmir or would lead to Rezmir. At one point, in desperation for something, anything other than Rezmir, the party started galloping away from Rezmir on horseback during one of his monologues about honor and duty. And wait for it, here's the real kicker. Here's the real cherry on top of the cringe cake. The DM describes Rezmir continuing his monologue as he keeps up with the party while on foot, and we're on horseback. The party had just about had enough when we all confronted the DM about the fact that we weren't enjoying the fact that everything was revolving around this dragonborn, and asked if he could ease up a bit. To which the DM responded with, quote, "This story is about Rezmir, and I'm not changing that." Oh, my eyeballs are rolling so back I can see my brain. Jesus. In response to this, 2 players immediately left the group and didn't return. and the rest of us just stayed, out of a sense of either desperation for a game or morbid curiosity. The remainder of us had had enough, however, and conspired to get our revenge on the character who had become the object of all of our frustrations. In the final battle against Rezmir's father, I guess the DM thought he was throwing us a bone when he had Rezmir be grievously wounded and beg for our aid. See, according to the DM, this was our defining climactic moment, defending his NPC from a bunch of minions until he could gather the strength to pull together and defeat his BBEG father. But we didn't do that. Instead, almost as one, we all decided to swear our allegiance to Rezmir's father and attacked Rezmir while he was down. We were pretty high level at that point and dealt at least 200 damage to the Dragonborn in one round. When the DM began to seethe with anger and tried to retcon our actions or handwave them away, we pushed back and used his own words against him over how injured Rezmir was. Finally, after a long moment of silence, when the DM realizes his precious character is screwed, he utters the words that I will never, ever forget. Quote, "As you sink your weapons into the body of Rezmir, you feel no resistance at all, and Rezmir the Black fades. It's a hologram." Oh, Rezmir! Following that session, I left the group, and so did the others, from what I hear. End post. Okay, I think this is the first story I've read where I've actually met the concept of a DMPC. Is that what these things are? If that's the case, I can definitely see why they're the focus of a lot of these horror stories. What I will say initially is that I think the concept of a DMPC is fine. Like if the DM wants to play with the party via an NPC, that's cool, right? But it's contingent on two things. First, the party has to be cool with it. And secondly, even if they are cool with it, you should communicate and ask the party beforehand if they are cool with this PC becoming the primary focus of the story. But still, taking all that into consideration, this was still an extreme example of the DM giving his darling a little bit too much agency. And then to double down on it in the face of your party's frustration when they told you that they weren't cool with it, yeah, you had it coming, Rezmir. Rest in peace, my guy. Anyways, that's it. Thanks again to Kooh for having me on, and I will see y'all later. Peace!
Thank you very much for appearing on such short notice, Reading Raptor. It's been a pleasure having you here. If you enjoyed what you just saw, I implore you, go to his channel and show him some love. I've been greatly enjoying his content, and I'm sure you will too. With this all being said and done, that was it for today's stories. I hope you enjoyed your stay and that I will see you again soon. For there are always more stories to be shared.